So let me get this straight. Nintendo is releasing a miniature NES with 30 built-in games? Has HDMI out? Are we in 2016 or 1985? Guys, today the Nintendo company announced that they are releasing what they're calling the NES Classic Edition. Stay tuned. Alright, what do you know, what do you say, what do you do, my YouTube viewers? Retro Pro Frank in the house today with some very exciting news. Nintendo is making a new NES system. Yes, you heard this right. They're making a new NES system, brand new for 2016. Take a look at this picture here. Okay, so this is a multi-system. Okay, it comes with a multi-game system, sorry. It comes with 30 games in one. Okay, so it's a lot of the classic black box games I noticed. We'll go through the list in a minute. Okay, but I want to go through some of the specs that this thing has too. So it's a lot smaller, okay? So it actually looks exactly like the NES. It's just a lot thinner and a lot smaller. And it comes with 30 classic games, 30 classic NES games, okay, with HDMI out. You heard me, guys. HDMI out. Okay guys, this is hilarious. It's retailing for $59.99. It's going to be released November 11th. They're shooting for of this year. Okay, so 2016, November 11th, just before Christmas. This is awesome, okay? This is something that I probably would want to buy, check it out, you know what I mean? But yeah, it seems like Nintendo was kind of copying suit of Sega. Sega did the same thing with their 80-in-1. But anyway, we'll compare that in a second. Let's keep talking about the NES system, alright? So the system actually includes the iconic, you know, rectangular joypad that we're all know and love. They don't say if they're going to use the exact same joypad, but it should resemble it. Should be about the same size, you know, hopefully, okay? But one really cool thing about the new gamepad for the NES system is you can actually use it on your Wii U or your Wii to run the virtual console. If you guys have a Wii or Wii U, you guys know that you guys can download some of the classic games from Nintendo. So you can actually plug that into your controller the same kind of way. So it's like you got an NES controller plugged into your remote. Pretty smart. So one great thing is that it does support the HDMI, but one real big disappointment here is that it does not support original cartridges. Nintendo, Nintendo, Nintendo. That's your major flaw in this. That's what I have to say. Think about it, alright? Let's look at Sega's system, okay? So Sega has an 80-in-1 system, okay? It actually looks very, very nice, okay? Here's a picture of it here. And it's got all, like, their 80 top classic games. All the good ones are there. They didn't hold anything back. There's Streets of Ragers, there's Sonics, all the good games, the Shinobis, everything's in there. But they did include a slot for the original Genesis cartridges. That's where Nintendo's lacking. Nintendo, you know what? You really dropped the ball with this. But the only thing I can imagine why, the only reason I can imagine why they did not include this in their 30-in-1 new NES Mini, the only thing I can think is because those systems, you know, the original NES system wasn't very reliable. You know, come on guys, you guys have played this for a long time. I played this my whole life too. You know what happens, you put them in, works a couple times, starts getting dirty, then you gotta blow in it, starts getting more dirty, you gotta blow in it more, you're killing the games, then you gotta use rubbing alcohol. You know, it's, you know, I can see why they didn't want it. I can see them putting that in, putting the pin connector in, the 72 pin connector in for the original games, and I can see them running into a lot of people returning the item, saying it doesn't work when they went to some retro store that doesn't know what they're doing, or they bought some games from a flea market that they didn't clean them and they tried it and it didn't work, but the games, we all know the games had to be cleaned. That's the only real logical reason I can see why Nintendo didn't include the actual cartridge slot. But, you know, like the Sega Genesis, it did. But to be honest with you, if I can remember correctly, the Sega Genesis back in the day, the original, that was a little bit more reliable than the NES. Like, I don't remember struggling as bad with the Sega Genesis as I did the NES. Mind you, fast forward 30 years, you find a box of games Sega Genesis games in the basement, yeah, you're going to run into that issue. You're going to have to clean them with some rubbing alcohol there, or whatever you guys want to use, okay? Okay, so one new feature that they've added to the NES, which is awesome, okay, is they've added like save points in the game. So like it's got the 30 pre-built games, and we'll get into that in a second, what the games are, the built-in games. But they added a save feature into the console itself, so you can save your progress right there. You don't got to worry about the battery backup. You don't got to worry about pressing power too much as you sit your cartridge, and you know what happens next. You're starting the game over from scratch. Also, you don't have to fumble around with a password system such as like Mega Man with all the little dots, or punch out with the numbers if you forget a number. You could just continue from there. That's what they're saying. Alright, let's go over the 30 games that come included with the system. Some of these games, you know what, they made really good choice. If they only had 30 slots to fill, they made really good choices. But a couple of the games, me personally, I would have left a few out to change them for other games. Okay, so let's go through the list here, okay? Starting from the top here. All right, we have a classic, okay, Balloon Fight, which is actually originally a black box game. Okay, that's an excellent game. That's a fun game. I say keep it. That's good to go on the system. They have Bubble Bobble. That was an excellent game, great seller, okay. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these games now are around, in Canadian dollars, around the $30, $40 range. Right now is 2016, so you know, we're around the $30, $40 range on a lot of these. So those two games right there paid for the $59 system. Now, I don't know if that's a Canadian. They didn't specify if it was a Canadian price, $59.99, because that's what they're launching it at, or if it's an American price. I'm pretty sure it's an American price, okay? So, continuing over here, you got Bubble Bobble, okay? You have the original Castlevania, which is a great selection that Nintendo made to put that in this 30-in-1. Now we're going to move on to some weird stuff, I think, okay? Like Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. Wouldn't say I would personally put that on. You know, it's cryptic as hell. It's very annoying with the text box coming up. To be honest with you, I've never played through that entire game because I wouldn't want to. I definitely picked the Castlevania 3 over Castlevania 2 any day, that's for sure. Another thing that rattles my mind is that they have Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. Now, they're using 2 slots there, okay? Donkey Kong's a good game. I don't think it would be like one of my first picks to put on a 30-game system. But the funny thing is, if they just went with Donkey Kong Classics, Donkey Kong Classics has those 2 games plus 2 other games already built in. So it's the yellow cartridge one that says, the orange colored one that shows Donkey Kong Classics for the NES. They should have just put that in there. They could have had an extra 2 games on that. Another great pick they made was Double Dragon 2, great pick. Dr. Mario, great pick. Excite Bike, great pick. Now there's a lot of black box games you'll notice here. Final Fantasy, you know what? They needed a good RPG, and in my opinion, that's a little bit better than the Dragon Warrior series. In my opinion, okay, guys? Don't kill me in the comment sections, alright? Here's another weird pick. I personally would have went with this. I understand that they need different types of games. You know, they want to select, you know, running guns. They want to select, you know, their classics. But they went with a shooter, and they actually went with Galaga, which is kind of, you know, that wouldn't have been my first pick for shooters, that's for sure. I probably would have picked Gunark if I had to pick a shooter. They also picked Ghosts and Goblins, great game to put on a system. That's a classic game. Okay, good pick there, Nintendo. Another game they picked that I wouldn't probably have picked is Gradius. Like, that's just something I personally would have left out of that list. Climber, another classic NES game, but it probably wouldn't have made my list. Kid Icarus, that's a great game. No problems there. Kirby's Adventure, thank God you guys put a good game in there. That's a good game. Got the original classic Mario Brothers, like the Atari 2600 style, where there's the POW box and the platforms, and the guys come out of the pipes, you turn them over, you hit them. That was a good pick, but me personally, I would have left that out. Now, I'm curious to know why they only included 1, but thank God at least they only entered the best one, in my opinion, which is Mega Man 2. Thank you, Nintendo, for at least including 1 Mega Man game, okay? Yeah, personally, I would have picked 2. I would have put Mega Man 2 and 3. That's just me. But hey. Also included the classic Metroid. Great pick. Even they included Ninja Gaiden. Another great pick. Also went with the classic Pac-Man, okay? Now, Pac-Man, it's a great fun game. You know what? I agree with Nintendo that it should be on a 30 list. They also went with Punch-Out. but they didn't put the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out because they probably would have had to pay him again, so they went with the classic Punch-Out with Mr. Dream. Another RPG, Star Tropics, great game. That game actually was only released in Canada and the US. It was never released in Japan, so that's a great game, and that's, you know, it's not a very expensive game. You can find it relatively cheap, but that's a good call, Nintendo. I don't agree with this pick at all. This next pick, sorry guys, okay, if I only got 30 games, okay, the next pick that they put in there is Super Contra, Super C. Now, if I was to put a Contra game, which any 30-in-1, any Nintendo, you know, if I was going to make a multi-card of Nintendo games, I would be putting the original Contra. I'm kind of, I'm kind of baffled on why they wouldn't put the original Contra, why they would put the Super C. Me personally, I pick the original Contra any day. I think it honestly it dominates over Super Contra. Yeah, so we'll get back to that point in a second as well. Thank God they put at least the 3 Mario Brothers, Mario 1, 2, and 3. That had to be on there, okay? Great picks, Nintendo. Good thing you did that because you get a lot of pissed off people. For sports games, they put actually one of my favorite sports games. They put Tecmo Ball. Good pick. And I'm pleased to announce that they're shipping this out with the 2 Zelda games, The Legends of Zelda and Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. So that's the whole list right there of the 30 launch games that are going to be pre-installed on the system. Now, there's a couple things I think would have made this a little bit better. First off, in this picture here, it doesn't show any original controller ports. Now, I'm wondering why they wouldn't do that, okay? It would be nice to use the original controllers because nobody really knows how these new controllers are going to feel. You know, if you're playing, you know, we're just going off pictures right now. This is still new. This was just announced this morning at 8 a.m. So we don't really know what kind of controllers they're going to give us. There are ports for it, and if you look closely at the ports, you will see that they look like the same sort of ports that are at the bottom of a Wii controller or Wiimote. See that little groove there? That looks like a Wiimote controller there. Pretty sneaky. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Now, they don't show the rest of the system all angles, but I really hope Nintendo does put, you know, a classic NES controller port on the back, because, like, I know Nintendo does make quality products, but, you know, we can't compare it to the Retron, for example, where their controllers are complete garbage. You know, it is a wired controller, so what I can gather so far from these pictures, but, you know, I just think in my mind that it needs the original NES port, even in the back, something, even one, you know. I would really like to see that on. Now, another thing's a big bummer, okay? I know why they didn't do it, but it would have been nice to see the actual 72-pin connector, either if you could have loaded it in through the top or through the back, or that would have been a nice option, Nintendo. Like I said, Sega's done that with their Sega 80-in-1 system, you know, so I'm a little bit disappointed in it, but I know it would have costed you guys a lot of money in returning. People, you know, they wouldn't know how to clean the games properly. I understand why they didn't do it, but it is a little bit disappointing not to see that on the system. But what makes up for it is it does have HDMI. So, you know, that's a great option. So now we can actually play these games in HD. So that's great. You know, hopefully the resolution's nice and high, and yeah. Something else I'm a little bit confused about is with their games, their 30 games, why wouldn't they include one of the Ninja Turtle games? At least the arcade game. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't include that, you know? So yeah, so there you have it. Nintendo is releasing a new NES, the NES Mini, okay guys? That's great news, that Nintendo still knows that there's money to be made out there. I really wish that you guys would have put like a 72 slot to hold the original cartridges, and I really wish that there's, you know, an original controller port on the system. That would be excellent, Nintendo. But I do think that they will be coming out with another one of these, just like Sega did with their 80-in-1. I think they had one that was a 40-in-1 first, and it was all built in with no cartridge slot, and then they came out with the 80-in-1 with a cartridge slot. So I don't think this is going to be the last version of this that we're going to see. Yeah, guys, we got a brand new NES that's coming our way. This is going to be really, really cool. I can't wait to get it in my hands and try it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, okay guys, and we'll see you guys on the next upload. This is Retro Pro Frank, and I'm out. Thanks for watching the video. If you guys like this video, go ahead and press the like button below, and you guys can leave some comments.
comments below in the comments section of the video. Please share this video on Facebook pages to your friends and family. As well as, if you guys like this video, please subscribe. This is Retro Pro Frank. Thanks for watching. I'm out.